Okay, we're just gonna wait for Kaylee for a second. It's not 12 now, it's like 12:02 now.
Oh, really?
Look at my phone.
Well, I'll fix it again now.
Which is what you could have done to start with. Okay, today is yoga for strength. Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's not. Better not be.
Today is yoga for stress. It's a stay on the mat class. We are going to pump it up just a little today because we're thinking about Ahimsa, the theme of the week. And we're going to think about fight or flight. So we're just going to pump it up just a little just to think about certain muscle groups. Take it easy. Take it slow. Take breaks. Part of the practice today is that pause. So you may need props. You may need something to sit on if you have trouble sitting in easy seat. You can also use a chair, make do in a chair. This class is not about increasing discomfort, so be mindful. Be mindful of your own body. If this is not a comfortable seat for you, don't sit in a comfortable seat. Don't sit in easy seat. Sit some other way that makes your body more comfortable. And we're going to start in a seat today. So start by landing in the room. See where you are. Maybe you can feel your hips on the mat. Start to feel your shoulders. Start to feel what's present in your back. Take some movements. Maybe move your head. Feel your neck. Squish your face. Feel the muscles of your face really starting to land. Pick up your arms. Let your arms drop into your lap, wherever your shoulders and arms feel comfortable. Spread your fingers and then soften them. And if it's comfortable, close your eyes and just start to focus inward. What is present? So the first of the teachings is do no harm, Ahimsa. And we cannot really truly practice nonviolence if we don't know what's going on within our own system. So part of the whole practice is to begin to know ourselves so well that we know what's going on and we can find that pause needed before we choose actions. So coming to your seat and finding your pause. And your pause means looking inward. It doesn't mean wrestling with the thoughts. It doesn't mean wrestling and suppressing emotions. It means looking inward. We give ourselves time to look inward to notice what is present. So without cognitively answer the questions. What is present emotionally? What do you feel in the emotional centers? What is present in the thoughts? Where is your head today? Where is it going? What is it running to? Just notice. And without grasping and trying to force it into a certain pattern, just look, observe, become a witness of what is going on in your own system. What is going on in your breath? How do you feel energetically? And how do you feel physically? Take some more movements, take some more wiggles, get to know what is present. And then maybe leaving the eyes closed, begin to move with your breath. We're going to inhale, arms up overhead like zombie arms, soft arms. And exhale, bring the arms back down towards our lap, moving slow and consciously with our breath. Inhale up. And exhale down, nice and slow and consciously. We're going to think about the fight or flight muscles. So emotions and stress response are closely linked to these fight or flight muscles. And if we don't think about them and we don't connect with them, we have no idea what that is. Bring your hands down, lower your arms down into your lap, and take some wiggles of the shoulders, lifting one at a time. Maybe still trying to keep your eyes closed and really just feel what's present in your shoulders. Lift and lower, wiggle them around, maybe make circles with the shoulders, nice and slow. Feel what is present in your shoulders. And then draw the shoulder blades back together and then roll them forward. Nice and slow. Draw the shoulder blades back together and then squeeze them and roll them forward. So our fight or flight system is response to stressors. It's a protective system. So gently float your eyes open if they're still closed. And we're going to take rainbow breath. So lifting up, inhale as you lift, exhale as you fold over to one side. Inhale, lift up, exhale, fold over. Nice and slow. Really starting to think about side body, so lengthening a side. Rather than folding over and lifting a hip and having some kind of goal, lengthen the other side. Inhale up, exhale, lengthen. So maybe pushing that arm up and over. Moving with your breath. So fight or flight. It is a response to stress. Our digestion turns off. Our muscles start to get ready to fire and flee, particularly our glutes, our thighs, our low back, and the muscles around our stomach, ready to flee. And sometimes these muscles can hold tension. Our stressors are less obvious in our environment today. Sometimes we can get stuck in this system. Bring both arms up overhead. And we're going to twist. So inhale, center, exhale, twist, open. Inhale, back up. Exhale, twist. I'm thinking about doing no harm. We're just using the stomach muscles. Connect. Don't push into a hip. Don't push into a leg or a knee. And compete with the twist. Inhale up. Exhale, open. Twist and move with your breath. So we're going to connect with all these muscles. The muscles of the glutes and hips. The muscles that turn on. We're going to try and generate a little heat in these muscles and then try and get to the point where we know so well what is going on in these muscles that when we get to our resting pose, we can turn them off. Bring it back to center. Slowly take circles with the wrists all the way down to our laps, nice and slow. Land your hands in your laps. Notice what's different. Take a wiggle, see what you feel. We're going to work with some of the muscles in our torso. So we're going to think about these muscles between our rib cage and our hip. If you're on a chair, you're just going to extend the left leg out a little. If you are seated, you're going to put the left leg, foot down, knee up. You're going to watch for things. So things to watch for: leaning and moving through the hips and making the movement come from the sacrum area, the place in the back of the hips. So we want to think about getting nice and tall and connecting with these muscles between the rib cage and the hip. So we're looking to generate a little heat. We can take right arm up and then across. So we're going to reach across, come towards the foot, reach and twist, up and over, and then back. Inhale as you come up, exhale as you twist. Inhale as you come up, exhale as you open. So start to take this movement connecting with these muscles right here in this space, this left side, your oblique muscles. Thinking about making these muscles work. Nice and slow. And then bring it back to neutral. Bring this right arm back to neutral. Give the shoulder a little shake, the arm a little shake. We're going to think about the left leg. So fight or flight muscles, these muscles on the top of the thigh. You're gonna lean back just a little to give your legs space. Watch for rolling into the low back. So try and have a little bit of engagement here. Pick up the left foot. Hold it, float it, hover it. So these muscles are big. Watch for taking this all into the back so you can get the leg up. You want to just connect with these muscles right here on the top of the thigh. These muscles are big, and we use them all day long. Walking, running, we use these muscles. They should be nice and strong and easy to move, right? No. So they don't move so easily when we isolate them. Bring it down. Take a little shake. Take a hand, rub the muscle. And now we're going to work with generating some heat and finding your pause. So you listening to your own body rather than going for as long as we can go or some other goal. We're going to pick up that leg and we're going to hold it, and we're going to learn to take the break when we need to. So when the muscle says, okay, I'm tired, reset, bring it down, take a break. Take a breath, bring it back up. So we're going to pick that leg up, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Notice when you start to restrict your breath and you're squeezing your face and you're really trying to hold. Notice what is going on in your system. Take the leg down when you're ready to take a break. Take a long breath. Maybe take a wiggle. Find that pause. And then reset. Go back. Find some more strength in that leg. Lift. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Feel what is present. Feel what is present in your whole system. Can you still hold solid breath? And when you're ready, take your break. And lay it down. Rub the leg. Take your pause. Feel what is present. And one more time. Or maybe you need a longer pause. You're listening to your body, finding your own practice here. Maybe you just need to start rubbing the muscle, connecting with it in that way. Find your own practice, find your own space. And then bring the leg down if you lifted it. Wiggle it, rub it. And we're going to come up to gate pose. So if you are using a chair, if you have sore knees, you can do this pose entirely with the chair. So if you were using a chair, you would stand on the right foot, lean on the chair, and lift this left leg. So if you're coming down onto the mat with us, you're going to land on the right knee. You may want to have a block to bring your torso up a little more evenly. Give yourself some space. We're going to hold this pose. So we want to connect with these 4 muscles. So our fight or flight muscles, basically this space, this is the space we're working with today. All these muscles that fire up and get tense, ready to flee. Point your left leg. So try not to dump into the shoulders. Watch for hanging out in the shoulder and letting all your body weight hang out in the shoulder. Be engaged, lift up. Your hand is just for balance. We're going to lift this right leg. So imagine you're lifting from the heel. Lift and lower, nice and slow. Start to connect with the muscles of the outer hip. Lift and lower. Again, you can do this with using the chair, standing up. Connect to the muscles of the outer hip. Slowly bring this heel towards your nose, a little bit, teeny bit, and then lift and lower here. Notice that you use slightly different muscles, trying to keep some engagement in this core area. Squeeze your stomach to keep your torso solid. Breathe. Lift and lower with your breath. Bring your knee in towards your chest. Here, it's really important that we keep everything focused in these fight or flight muscles. We're going to keep everything attentive. We're going to squeeze these muscles. We're going to use these muscles. We're not going to move from the hip. And I'm going to keep talking while you hold this here. Can you find your pause? Can you find your breath? So then lower the knee. Teeny lower of the knee, pull the knee up. Lower the knee, Pull the knee out. See, my hips are not moving. This is what it's going to look like if you're moving from your back. Move from your hip. Lower the knee. Pull the knee out. Lower the knee. Pull the knee out. Breathe. Land this leg long. Take it behind you. Behind you, behind you, behind you. And then reach. Push this rib cage, left rib cage up, and left arm can come over the head. Push, lengthen, breathe. Take the tension out of the neck. Find your pause. What is present? What is different in all of this space on the left side? So we only worked one side. What is different? Slowly plant the leg down and come on up. Land your foot on the ground. So watch for pushing into the back of the knee. Press the foot onto the ground. Reach up nice and tall. And then we're going to think about moving this foot up from this position. So lift the foot up. See if you can do it. So you're really not going to be able to lift it. See if you can lift the heel just a teeny bit. What are you using to lift the heel? Your toe. See if you can find the inner thigh to move the leg. Squeeze and lift the heel up. Little, small, tiny movement. Just connecting with all these muscles in our leg. Inner thigh, lift the heel. Squeeze, lift. Lower it down. Come to a seat. Take both legs out and feel them. So shake them around, feel them. Notice left and right because we only worked one side. Nice time to check in. And notice what feels different on the other side. Take your feet, pull the toes towards you, and then push the toes away. Nice and slow. Pull back, push away. So trying to feel the muscles of the feet. And then we're going to plant the left foot down, knee up. Move on to the other side. So left foot down, knee up. If you're sitting on a chair, just going to try and think about the left leg. Get nice and tall in the spine, and we're going to think about all these twisty, turny muscles in our torso. You're going to lift the left arm. We're going to bring it up and over towards the right foot, and then up and over and back and turn. Inhale as you come through center. Exhale as you twist. Inhale through center. Exhale as you turn. Start to really think about these muscles, and if it helps, you can bring your hand into this space. Really thinking about using these torso muscles, these stomach muscles, to move and breathe. Generate some heat here. Feel these muscles, connect to these muscles. How can we know if these muscles are stuck on if we've never thought about them? Bring it back, neutral. Bring your shoulders up and down, give a little wiggle. And we're gonna think about the top of the right thigh. So lean back just a teeny bit, just enough to give yourself space between the hip and the thigh. Not so far that you're cheating the movement with your back. And so lean back a little bit, lift and hover the right foot. See how much you can connect the top of the right thigh. Breathe. Feel the right thigh. Connect with this muscle. Breathe. And when you need to, take your own pause. So connect with the muscle. Feel the muscle. And when you need to, take your pause. Kaylee's going to spend this whole time pausing. And then rub your muscle. Bring some circulation back to this space. Think about this space. Connect with this space. And then sit up. Hold and hover. Breathe. Top of the right thigh. It looks like you're not even lifting it at all. I was just checking. Hold and hover, connect to it.
See, it's up. You can see that.
And then lower it. Take a break. So when you're looking at the muscle, when your mind starts to wander, when you start to like jump off the mat and think awful things and run away to wherever you need to go, try looking at the muscles we're trying to use. It will help you bring back that mind-body connection. So bring a foot up, hold and hover. Breathe. See how long you can hold and hover. See how long you can stay connected to this muscle. And then take your own pause when you need to take it. So hold and hover for as long as you can. But finding your own pause. Finding when you need to take it. And then when you do lower down, rubbing the muscle. Feeling the space. Taking some circles here. And then we're going to come on up to our gate pose. Our gate, our half moon, baby moon, half baby moon poses using a block or using a chair. So again, set up. This time left leg stays down. We land on the left leg. Left arm comes down, however, not directly underneath the shoulder so that we're sinking into the shoulder. We're going to use our torso to keep us up. Squeeze and hold these muscles. So make lots of space, and our fingers are only for balance. That keeps us from sinking into the shoulder and not being mindful of what we're doing in the shoulder. So keep some strength here. And we're going to start to lift this right heel and lower. Small movements. Lift and lower. Trying to think about all the movement coming from the top of the hip and all the way down the leg into the glute. Not into the middle of the back. So watch for too much movement in the hips. Try to keep this leg nice and solid. Move with your breath. And then slowly pull the heel a little bit towards the nose, teeny bit. Still keeping that lift and lower. Still making sure you're connected to these muscles in the torso, keeping you nice and long and strong. Breathe. Bend the knee, draw the knee towards the nose. Watch for this hip moving too much. Pull the knee down, pull the knee up, pull the knee down, pull the knee up. Small movement. This is what it looks like if you move the hip too much. We're moving through the leg. Pull the knee down, pull the knee up. Leg stays engaged. Both legs. So you're still squeezing through the left leg. You're still squeezing through the left glute. You're still squeezing in the torso to pull yourself up out of the ground. Connect to the muscles. Land the right leg down. Take it all the way back. Reach as long as you can. And then reach right arm up and over. So long, long, long right side body. Breathe and hold. And land right foot down, gate pose. Come on up with the torso. Press the foot into the ground to really get strong in the right leg. And then we're going to lift the heel and lower, trying to use the leg, left and lower. Small movement, trying to keep the whole leg engaged the whole time. Lift and lower. We're not pushing into the foot to try and get it to come up. We're trying to use muscles to pull the heel up. See if you can do it. Did you get it?
I don't know. The heel's coming up.
Bring it down.
Don't know how.
Back down to a seat. Bring both legs out. And wiggle the legs. See what's present. Point and flex the feet. So squish the toes away from you. Pull them back. Feel the legs nice and slow. And then we're going to come on over to crocodile pose. So make your way onto your stomach all the way down, nice and slow. All the way down, crocodile pose. Forehead down. One hand on top of the other, forehead down. Shimmy the hips. And notice what is present. So when we think of fight or flight muscles, we often think of all the muscles along the front line. So we think about the stomach muscles, and we think about the tops of the thighs all ready to fire up and run. But we also have a bunch of muscles that fire up, ready to flee on the back line, particularly the glutes, the low back space, the glutes, and the thighs, obviously. So see if you can connect to these muscles. See what you can notice in your lower back. So see what you can feel in your lower back. What is present here? Imagine you could check in and visit each vertebrae as you walk your attention up the spine, and then spread your attention either side of the vertebrae. So you're going to check in on a vertebrae and spread your attention across the back as you visit each one, checking to see if you feel any muscle tension. Sending your awareness up your back, nice and slow. And then we're going to use the back. So connect with the muscles of the back to try and help us feel muscles in our back. So nice and gentle first. Bring your hands down for balance. Press the tops of the feet into the ground and fire up the muscles of the legs. We're going to inhale, lift the shoulders, exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Squeezing the glutes, squeezing the low back, squeezing the mid back, squeezing the upper back. Press the tops of the feet into the ground. Fire up the whole legs. Squeeze the feet together, press them together. Notice how this feels. And then take the feet a little bit wider. Press the tops of the feet in the ground. Notice how that feels. Maybe your perfect version of this lift is a little bit different. Move your feet around. Find the position that feels right for you. Mindful of the tension in the neck. Think about lifting the shoulders and getting long in the spine, not lifting the head. Move with your breath. Find all those muscles in the back. See how many you can find. See how many you can connect with. And then bring it back down to crocodile. Shimmy the hips. See if you can soften a little more across the back. Slowly make your way back to tabletop position. So find yourself in a tabletop. And we're going to move and breathe here, just kind of starting to connect with what is present. So inhale, tabletop. Exhale, sending your body back towards a child's pose shape, but moving in your own way. Choosing a movement pattern that feels right for you today. Maybe you think about moving from the tailbone. Maybe you think about moving left and right in a kind of U shape through the shoulders. Maybe you take some circles with the hips. Find a movement that works in your body today. Feel, experience movement and breath in your body. And then come on up to tabletop. We're going to take the left leg out, even with the hip. Activate the whole leg. Watch for buckling in the spine and buckling in the shoulders. Try to lift up out of the ground, engage the stomach and the chest and shoulders. Hover left leg. So hold it here. Peel nice and slow the heel towards the glute. So as slow as you can, pull it towards the glute and then pull it back. Hold the heel towards the glute and pull it back. Move with your breath. Pull the heel up to the ceiling. Press the heel to the ceiling. So through the leg and hip. Watch for this coming into the back. We want to move the leg and hip. So press the heel. Small, tiny, controlled movement. Hold the knee up, bent. We're going to take the knee over to the left and back to center. Left and center. Squeeze and hold the leg. And then take the left leg long. Take the right arm up. Balance. Breathe. Notice what happens when you balance. Do you hold your breath? Does your mind run off your mat? Notice, notice, notice. And if you like, bend the knee, bring the heel towards the glute, and reach back for the foot. Maybe you can catch it. Find a nice stretch. And then lower the left leg slowly, not slingshotting. Land the toes, press through the heel, and you can take this static or you can pulse. Feeling the back of the leg. Lower the left knee and check in. Notice left and right sides. And then reset. Right leg is going to come up. Watch for that buckling in the back. So engage through the back, engage through the chest, nice and strong. Strong right leg, hold and hover. And then slowly peel the heel towards the glute and slowly pull it away. Trying to find as many muscles as you can find in the leg. And then bring the heel up towards the ceiling, little pulses. So small, tiny pulses. Lift the heel to the ceiling and pull the knee back down. Bring the heel towards the ceiling, bring the knees a little bit over to the right, and then a little bit back. So small movement, right, and then back to center. Trying to move through the right leg. Everything else nice and solid. Move with your breath. And then right leg long, left leg up, left arm up, balance. That would be a challenge, both legs up.
Right leg up, right leg up.
Hold and hover. And if you like, bend the knee, see if you can reach for the foot. Catch the foot, press your foot into your hand into your foot. Find those opposite forces. Slowly release the foot if you have it, reach long, and then lower the toes, press through the heel. Slowly bring the knee down and find your way back to a seat. So return to your seat where we started and find your pause. So now we're going to check in and notice what is different from when we began practice. So do that same body scan that we did at the start. Wiggle around, find the hips, find what's present in the back, find what's present in the shoulders, feel what's present in the neck, maybe move the head a little. Maybe even close the eyes and do the body scan from inside. So notice the hips, notice the back, notice the shoulders, all checking in, noticing what's present. Notice the hands. Notice the skin on the face. Notice the breath. And then make your way slowly down to your back. Down to your back. And leave our feet down, knees up. So things to think about when we start to land on our back. One of the common things we do when we land on our back is overly flatten the curves of our back. So we find this thing on the ground and we want to get our back onto it. So we flatten, we tilt our pelvis and we push our low back onto the ground. And we push the back of our neck down onto the ground. So check in. See if you can wiggle your hips. Maybe you can just slide the tips of your fingers in under your low back just a little. There should be that natural curve of your low back. So obviously you can over accentuate it and go the other way, or you can pull it down and over flatten it. See if you can wiggle your hips around until you know that you have what feels like a natural curve in your low back. And then think about your neck. Give your neck a wiggle, give your head a wiggle. And then take your chin a little more to the ceiling and maybe slide your fingers around on your neck and notice what it's doing. So often we have no idea what our muscles are doing, how our body is forcing itself into what shape. We just kind of sit the way that feels normal. We land the way that feels normal. And it takes a little attention and getting that mind-body connection going and getting that awareness to happen. It takes a while for it to really connect. So check in over and over and over again. Every time you practice, check in. How does your low back feel? How does your neck feel? How are your shoulders today? Check, check, check. And then we're going to bring right knee over left. And we're going to bring the knees towards the chest. So we're looking for a fight or flight space on the right side. The glute piriformis space on the right side. So you're going to find this space and you're going to breathe into it. You want to imagine you're pulling your feet to opposite shoulders. So right foot comes towards left shoulder, left foot comes towards right shoulder. You can rest your hands in on your shin. This can help just connect, give you a little bit more sensation on that right side. But be mindful when we apply our hands. Our hands are applying a force in an opposite direction. So we want to be mindful. We want to know that we're not pressing the force entirely into the joint. We're just applying enough that we can feel a connection to this space, and then we breathe into it. So once you find it, imagine your breath. So knowing that our breath is breathing in fresh and transforming it into energy that we need, and then as we exhale, we're sweeping away what we no longer need. There's this magical transformation that actually happens. So connect with that. And imagine that you could intentionally send all that fresh energy right to this piriformis glute space on the right side. So you're going to send fresh energy right down to this space. And with every exhale, sweep away the tension. And then slowly unravel. Slow, gentle, kind, compassionate movement with your body. Take a little wiggle of the hips. And then left knee crosses over right. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Play with the angle of your feet, the attention in your feet. Find the piriformis space on the left side and breathe into it. And again, do that check-in on your neck. Maybe you pulled the chin down, you put a little more tension into your neck. Check. Become aware. Turn on that mind-body connection. Get to know your own holding patterns. We all have different holding patterns based on our experiences, where we hold our tension, what jobs we do, what frequent movements we do in our lives, what movement patterns we have. We all have different holding patterns. And we come to these pauses to get to know where they are. So we can do a check-in, so we can feel these places and begin to bring softness to our holding patterns. Slowly unravel. Slow, gentle movement. Land your feet on the ground. Now we're going to try and shake up this space. So, somatic movement, the shaking of a muscle, the releasing of all tension in the muscle is what we're looking for. Think about a bowl of jelly when you wiggle it. That kind of movement we want in the muscle. Two things you can do for this space, the fight or flight space. You can lift the hips just a little and let them drop, and let the wiggle be just gravity, dropping your hips into the ground and letting the movement wiggle through your hips and your glutes and your stomach space. Or you can wiggle left and right. Wiggle. So you're wiggling left and right without any muscular action. So it's kind of hard to connect to this movement. Wiggling without muscle. So wiggling, intentionally moving a body part without engaging and pressing into muscle. So trying to get as loose as possible. Figure out which one works for you. One will be easier than the other. Wiggle and shake. Get the wiggle going. See how much you can loosen. See how much you can let go of in this space. Think about this whole space being soft like jelly. The glutes, the thighs, the stomach being entirely soft. And then let that go. Take the feet long with a soft bend in the knees. So land the heels down, but don't press the backs of the knees into the ground. A little bit of movement in the leg. And now we're going to try and get that somatic shake to happen throughout the entire body. Start small. You're going to flick your toes back and forth. Flick, flick, flick. See if you can get your shoulders to land on the ground. See if you can get your hands to land on the ground. And then see how much movement you can get going in the whole body. Flicking softly. And particularly pay attention to any places that seem not to want to move. So maybe you have a hip that's holding. Maybe you have a knee. Maybe it's a shoulder. Maybe the muscles of your face are still squeezing tight. Checking in. Run your attention entirely around your body. How can we know where we are tense before the tension is screaming at us? Get to know what is present. Feel your body. Move, move, move. Shake, shake, shake. See if you can really get the wiggles going throughout your entire body. See if you can get your whole stomach to feel like it's jiggling and soft. And take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, suddenly land. Notice where your body lands. Notice if one foot's turned out, one foot's turned in. Notice discrepancies, notice differences in the body. Notice if you landed, your attention was brought to some place in the body where there appears to be some tension. Just notice. Send your awareness around your body. And then we're thinking about Ahimsa. We're thinking about doing no harm to our system. So maybe this is already the perfect relaxed posed and state for your body. This is how you feel just right today. So maybe you stay here. Maybe you notice some tightness back in the glutes and the low back. So maybe you want to put something in underneath your knees to soften that space back up. Maybe you want to put your feet up on the chair. Maybe you have an entirely different position where you feel your body is craving to be in this moment today. Find your rest, your resting position. Shavasana is resting pose. Resting. It's corpse pose. So traditionally, classes ended in a corpse pose. The idea being that we end our class as close to being a corpse as possible. So as close as being free of all muscular and mind and energetic tension as possible. So find that space for yourself, wherever it may be. Make a decision about how your body will be most likely to release all of its tension. And then start wandering your attention around the physical body, looking for those familiar places where you hold tension and checking in on the places particularly that we work today. So thinking about the glute space, the thigh space, the muscles around digestion, so these muscles that fire up. So these stomach muscles are connected to the muscles that move our legs. So when they fire up, they close down and they restrict digestion and they get the legs ready to move. So one of the ways that you can know that you've turned off fight or flight is connecting to the sound of gurgling in your belly. So when your digestion fires up, most likely you've gotten to that rest and digest stage. So think about bringing as much softness as you possibly can to this space. So the concept of doing no harm requires us getting to know this space. So our torso space, our fight or flight space, is also the place where we most often feel our emotions first. So when we get to know this space and we get to be able to bring softness to this space with intention, the more that we practice this, the less that our emotional state controls how we act and speak. So we all have these moments where we feel overwhelmed, we're completely consumed by one particular emotional state, and we act without thinking. So we act out of this emotional state, everything explodes, and we do things and say things that we entirely regret and probably don't even mean. We can only start to choose our words and actions by getting to know this pause, and this pause is perhaps the hardest part. So some of these muscular poses that challenge us physically are not nearly as hard as sitting still and getting to know our system. So get to know what is present. And rather than sending the cognitive brain around the body, so how thinking about answering all these questions in the cognitive brain, knowing exactly what is going on and grasping everything and being controller of everything, we're sending our awareness. So we're looking for sensation. Sensation in the feet, sensation in the ankle, sensation around the knees, sensation around the hips. And whenever the mind pulls us off and we start wandering around in whatever the mind wants to do today, send your awareness back around your body. Because generally, when our mind wanders off, our body responds, and our body will return to some of that tension. We'll bring back in some of that tension. So when the mind wanders off, send your awareness back around your body. Starting, there's no rule about where you start. You can start wherever you want, but pick a place for yourself. So start at the toes, move all the way up the body, start at the head, move all the way down. Pick a place and familiarize yourself with that pattern. Where do you check in? Where do you hold your patterns? Where do you hold your tension most often? Check in on your hands and your fingers. So think about strong emotional states. We often grip our hands, make fists get tight in our hands, hold tension in our hands. Are your hands soft? Can you make them softer? Can you find just a little more space in between the thoughts? So it's not the forcing your thoughts to do one thing. It is the noticing when the thoughts pull you away and returning to focusing on something else. So the gentle pull back of the mind, the gentle, hey, come on back. We're doing this right now. The more that we notice when the mind draws us away, the easier it becomes to draw it back. And this practice of watching our mind go and drawing our focus back inward to something else, there's also a part of that pause that is needed for Ahimsa, for do no harm. If we are wound up in those familiar patterns of our thoughts, run away with them and completely unaware, it is almost impossible to take that pause and think before we choose our words and actions. And as we're looking inward and scanning and looking for places of tension, trying to soften, trying to bring our awareness back into the body, be mindful of the mind or the ego judging. So be mindful of that little part of ourselves that feels regret of our experiences, feels remorse for some of the things that we have done that weren't particularly in line with how we want to be. So when we do this looking inward, try to do it with kindness and compassion, understanding that it is a journey. It is not perfection, but a journey of learning to make these little pauses, learning to make more careful, more kind decisions for ourselves and for the lives of people that we interact with. It's a journey, and to look inward and say, oh my God, you never get it right, and really beat on yourself is not a helpful part of the journey. And sometimes it's our biggest mistakes that are our greatest learning experiences. So one last practice for Ahimsa during this class is to get to know our inner dialogue. So for this practice, you're going to imagine that you could step outside of your body and look down on yourself, however you're seated or lying in this position right now. See yourself right now, as you are right now. Look at yourself. See yourself in your mind, create that visual, and notice what words come up. So really see yourself and notice what words come up. Notice if you judged yourself as too much of something, too old, too young, too short, too fat, too thin. Notice these words. Notice these judgments that we place on ourselves. And then see if you can notice a feeling when you say these words to yourself. So see if you can find a sensation, a feeling, a physical sensation. Maybe repeat that statement to yourself. See how it feels in your system when you talk to yourself in this way. Connect with it. Connect with that feeling. Feel it, and then see if you can imagine as if you were going to blow your breath on a mirror. You're going to fog up the mirror and wipe it clear. Imagine you could wipe that judgment away. Swipe it away and look again. And see if you can do it over and over again, looking at that judgment, looking at yourself. Say it to yourself, connect to how that feels. Maybe even see yourself as if you're looking in the mirror, see yourself feeling that feeling, like, ugh. If someone else said it to you, how does that feel? It feels terrible to have that thing said to you. So say it to yourself in the way that you say it to yourself all the time, and notice that it feels terrible. It does not feel good in your system. And then see if you can see it in some kind of visual, like you're blowing it out and letting it pass, and see if you can push that one away. Let go of that judgment. And notice that this is a really, 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 really hard practice to do, to get to the point where you just see yourself and you're like, hey, I'm a person. It's really hard. And it takes many, many times. And maybe you just want to pick one of these little inner judgments that we have on ourselves to work on. And maybe you want to practice over and over and over again. Maybe for a week, maybe for a month, maybe for a year. You're going to practice not saying that to yourself. Practice letting go of that inner dialogue. What can you let go of? What story, what mean word, what mean thing that you say to yourself can you push away, let go of? And sometimes it can be helpful. Many people find it helpful to replace it with something. So maybe think of the opposite quality. So maybe think of what you would like that to be. So maybe if perhaps the feeling is, I'm too short, maybe I am short. In a way that's just, I am short. Without emotion, I'm just a person who is short. Can you get to the point where that's just a fact? So as you're laying here, looking inward, getting to know that inner dialogue we carry around with ourselves, and getting to know that quite often that inner dialogue is a real bully. a critic and of no use to us. So we can start to think about the fact that when we act and choose words that are not in line with our inner self, our truest part of ourself, there are disruptions in our system. There are disruptions in our thoughts. There are disruptions in our whole system. We don't feel good physically. We don't feel good energetically. We don't feel good in our thoughts. Maybe we can just start to see those disruptions as guiding us back to the path that we'll be more comfortable on, and stop getting caught up in that little mean inner dialogue, that mean path that we often send ourselves down on. So if you'd like to spend more time working with this, go ahead. Spend as much time as you need practicing catching your mind when it runs off the mat. Practicing looking at yourself and blowing away some of these unnecessary critical things we carry around. Practicing being kind to ourselves, because the more that we practice kindness to ourselves, the easier it becomes to give kindness out. Practicing kindness and compassion. Practice it to yourself. Practice it physically on the mat. Practice it physically with your breath. Practice it with your thoughts. And then practice it with your actions. Take it off the mat. And when you're ready, slowly make your way to a fetal position. Curl up in a ball. And begin to get yourself ready to go back out and into your life. And take a moment in a fetal position, just being curled up in a kind of protective position. And perhaps thinking about some of these inner dialogues that we're letting go of. And imagine being a little bit lighter. So imagine that these things are heavy burdens that we carry inside our system, maybe on our shoulders, maybe on our hips. We're going to let them fall to the ground, and when we come on up to a seat, we're going to feel a little bit lighter. Connect with that sensation, coming up lighter, coming up a little more refreshed. And then find yourself in a seated position. Complete your practice in a familiar ritual. Bringing your hands to heart space, honoring that inner wisdom, honoring the inner wisdom that drew you to your mat, honoring the inner wisdom that helps guide you, that lets you know when you're not being compassionate and kind enough with yourself and others, this part of ourself. Honor our own inner wisdom so that we in turn can honor the inner wisdom of others around us. So spend some time connecting with this space, and then spend some time connecting, sending out this kindness and compassion. Thank you so much for joining us.